In 2023, over 5 million new businesses were started. What if I told you that 80%, over 4 million of those businesses will fail? The number one reason the business fails is because the entrepreneur did not surround themselves with a circle of advisors to give them good guidance through the startup phase. So if you stick with me, I'm going to give you the 10 most critical advisory roles you must have in order to be successful.
Welcome to the Launch Capsule. With your host, James DuBos. Buckle up because your launch capsule begins now.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey, thanks for joining me. This is Jim DuBos. This episode of the Launch Capsule is going to focus on something that I think is super critical for the success of entrepreneurs. And that is, you must have a community of advisors that you trust. Think of it as a circle of trust. These individuals are going to be critical to your long-term success or failure in your business. So I'm going to walk through with these so that you see the value that I'm talking about. The first is a business mentor or coach, and it's really, this individual should be someone who could guide you through the journey of entrepreneurship. I do this for a fee for my clients. If you're not in a place where you can afford to pay for an advisor just yet, there are organizations like SCORE, as an example, that are typically attached with your local chamber of commerce. These happen to be retired individuals who are basically giving their time to the community to help first time or young entrepreneurs get started. So I think it's a great place to start if you're not in a place for compensating a business coach. The next is a financial advisor. This can be a CPA, a bookkeeper, but you need someone who can help you with financial planning, helping you understand your core financial statements, your income statements, your cash flows, and in some ways may be able to help you with funding strategies for the business. So this is a key component. The next is a legal advisor. This is a place where I think you may consider paying for someone to help give you good guidance. This is someone who's going to help you not only just in the formation of the business, but drafting contracts, helping you review contracts with suppliers and customers. And ultimately, hopefully it doesn't happen, but in some cases you need someone to help you in a form of a litigation defense, or if you need to pursue litigation against in another entity. So having good quality business advisors early on in this journey is really important. Now, exit planning. This is, again, a service that I provide as part of my exit ready strategy, but it's really just to help structure the business for long-term success and value creation, right? So regardless of whether or not you're going to do an outright sale, you're going to do a partnership of some sort, or a succession in a family, you need to be thinking about this long-term, years in advance. And so this individual would also help you with ideas and opportunities to increase the valuation of the company over time. Operations consultant. You want someone who has operational experience. In a lot of cases, what I did in my journey was I would use non-competitive peers to help me with operational questions. So people who were in a similar type of business that I was in, but in another market. So we weren't competitive, but it allowed me to get insights into how they were solving certain operational problems inside of their business. So it's a great way to capture that type of advice from a consultant. Marketing strategy. Again, this is a place where plenty of marketing resources out in the market. Some are free, some are paid for. Again, I think if you're in a situation where you're conserving capital, I would definitely look at SCORE. That is a place where individuals give time to that type of an organization to help you develop a strategy for marketing. Sales advisor. Again, marketing and sales are two different things. If I look at my own industry, it was really about building a very competent business-to-business sales team, building compensation structures that made both business sense, helped us achieve our goals, and compensated our team fairly for their own individual production. And so I believe strongly in having strong advice and counsel on how to do that. Now, obviously, in my own experience, I can give good counsel to a client on how to think and consider. I also think using peers, that peer strategy of how are the peers in your industry building out their own individual sales team, is another really good way to get insight into how to build out a scalable team. Because really what you're trying to do is move from a founder-led sales strategy to an actual scalable team and system in the business. So technology and IT consultant, if you're not an IT guru, I strongly encourage you to find someone that you trust. And the best way to do that is just through a network of referrals. Who are people using? Who do they like in their industry, in their local community? Someone who caters potentially to smaller companies if you're just getting started, I think is going to be really critical for you. But make sure you have good counsel on the IT side of the equation. HR and talent development. So what I did in my business is obviously you need help in that hiring and onboarding and team development area. You have to build a culture. And so in my organizations, we kind of divided this into three areas. The first was the core HR function itself. And so I used an outsourced service, several outsourced services through my career, and was very successful in outsourcing the onboarding, the paperwork, getting all that stuff collected. That was a fairly cost-effective, way to do that. Culture, I'm a firm believer that the culture of the company must be set by the founder themselves. To me, I think the CEO's got a critical role in setting the overall culture of the organization. And so to me, you should own this as the founder of the company. And then the talent development. So again, in my businesses, we had a lot of technical people that needed ongoing talent development. And so it wasn't fair necessarily for me to put that development onto an HR person. What we did is have them track the requirements and make sure that the individuals were maintaining the various technical certifications that they needed. But ultimately, it was up to me and other people in the company to make sure that they maintained those technical requirements. So it really just depends on the type of business that you're in. Do you have certifications or compliance things that you need to maintain? And then decide, okay, operationally, how am I gonna do that? And so again, I think at the very least, you'll probably split this into an HR, maybe an outsourced resource and service versus you owning, as the founder, you owning the culture development inside the company. And then if you have a compliance function, figuring out internally how are you going to manage that ongoing development of the team. So here, investor and funding specialists. Really, it's just having someone in your orbit who has grown a company and knows how to grow a company. And so it's, am I going to go out and secure venture capital? Am I going to get debt? Do I have the capacity within my cash flow to be able to manage debt? What other alternative funding mechanisms, things like perhaps receivables financing and those types of things that you can use to generate capital inside of your business? And so I think having individuals in your orbit, again, who have experienced some of this, I myself can give you some guidance on how we, executed over the 10 companies that I, operated within in the many companies that I've consulted. What are they doing to generate, capacity to grow and fund that growth? But I also think you having an individual, inside of your circle that you trust that has also operated in that space, is going to be critical for the long term. Okay, so look, I gave you a list of 10 people that you need to have in your orbit as an entrepreneur to be successful. I would encourage you strongly to build out this group of people before you start your business, because you're going to have rapid fire questions that are going to come at you at completely unexpected times. And you're going to want to have the people on that, as my dad would say, have them on the Rolodex that you can pick up and call, right? For, that's for us oldies, Rolodexes. But have them in your speed dial, right? Have them in your favorites on your phone of choice so that you can call them when you need counsel. This is really, really critical before you really get cranked up with your business is who are the people that I could rely on, that I would trust to give me this good counsel. Because in the end, they have to be people that you're willing to listen to, even if it's what you don't want to hear, because they should have your best interest at heart. And so I hope this is helpful to you. Thanks for joining me on this episode, and I'm going to see you on the next edition. Have an awesome, awesome day.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Launch Capsule. The Launch Capsule. With your host and mentor to success, James DuBos. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share. That's a wrap for today's episode of The Launch Capsule. The Launch Capsule. With your host and mentor to success, James DuBos. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share.